Hello and welcome to the channel. In this one I'm going to be talking about friendships during relationships. So your boyfriend, girlfriend, or more importantly, you're married. Friendships during relationships. Can you have friends during relationships, and specifically, can you have friends of the opposite sex during, or gender for those who didn't get that? Can you have friends of the opposite sex during a relationship, especially if it's marriage? Is that possible? Okay, so people like to assume that, especially if it's a guy, that the person wants to date, wants to jump your bones. That's not necessarily the case. Just because somebody sees someone of the opposite sex, and especially if it's a guy, just because this is a guy and he sees a lady, doesn't mean he wants to date her, jump her bones, all of that. He happens to be a guy and there happens to be a lady standing here. But that's the case with ladies too. Just because she happens to be a lady and there's a guy standing there doesn't mean she wants to date him either. Or that they are dating, or whatever it is. That the thought is that people assume that that's so, because that's usually what we see. It's human nature for our minds to go there, and especially when it comes to guys, there's a stereotype that's all a guy wants. Ooh, ladies. So every lady there, ooh. Yeah, and it's a stereotype that all guys want is sex. That's just a stereotype. Now there's some, and that, for example, sense. But just because it's a guy doesn't mean he wants to do that. That's always thinking. Even if he has a particular biological response, that's not necessarily what he's thinking. That's just biology, if you get what I'm saying. It happens. But for you to actually be you're already with the person. I'll just take marriage for example, because that's where yes, you're definitely with the person. That's the ultimate goal. Let's say you're married. Okay, can you have friends of the opposite sex? So if it's the wife, yeah, she has lady friends. If it's the husband, yeah, he has guy friends. But can the husband have lady friends? Can the lady have guy friends? Can the wife have guy friends? So this is something that the husband and the wife are going to have to discuss, and before they get married with each other. Typically, couples don't want their spouse having friends of the opposite sex. Some might not mind. Usually it might be that, well, you knew each other from high school and here we are after college. So they can go ahead with that particular person, but do not make new friends of the opposite sex. That's most expected if that's going to be accepted by the one spouse talking to the other one. So if the husband knew Amy from high school and here they are having already graduated college now and they're now married, well, the husband with, let's say his wife is named Emily, So the husband, Joe, and the wife, Emily, the husband knew Amy from high school. Joe and Emily got married after graduating college. So that's the scenario. Emily could say to Joe, well, you knew Amy since high school, so go ahead and be friends with Amy, but don't make any new lady friends. Usually that's how it goes. Either that or Emily would want to vet anybody new who comes up to Joe's a female, and she get to know that lady, and then okay, this is Emily talking to herself. Okay, I see that she's not gonna go after my husband. My husband's not gonna go after her. He can be friends with that particular lady too, along with Amy. Most likely it's either that, really it's that you're a couple's friend, this husband-wife couple with that husband-wife couple. But sometimes you might see the married couple where both spouses are friends with that person, whether that person is a male or female. They're both friends with that person, not just one or the other. If it's especially being the opposite sex, that person outside of the marriage, that's how it usually goes. But can you be friends with a person out of opposite sex? Yes. Is it likely you're just going to be friends? That depends on the person. Will they be friends? Usually no, because that's how most couples prefer it. They don't want their partner being friends with the opposite sex. But is it possible? Yes, it's possible. You have to talk to your partner about that, preferably before you become partners. But even during the relationship, you have to talk to your partner about that. If you're willing to let them have friends of the opposite sex. And how many friends of the opposite sex, to what degree, if you want to be there or if you trust them to be alone, but you just want to know that the partner's meeting up with the friend. However you want to proceed, the best thing to do is to discuss that with your partner at the beginning of the relationship, before you proceed and things become a mess where they otherwise wouldn't have if you had just spoken to begin with about whether you're willing to let your partner have friends of the opposite sex. And preferably the discussion would be before you get together, not after. But if it's after, do it at the beginning of the relationship, like the first month of your being with the person. You discuss it with them. Really, the first person to talk to, ask yourself, are you willing to let them have friends of the opposite sex? You have to answer that for yourself, yes or no, and then talk to the partner about it. And in talking to the partner about it, what stipulations do you want? Do you trust them completely? Do you want to meet them and then okay, or how are you going to go about that? Do you not mind them hanging out once a month, or do you just want your partner to tell you, hey, I'm hanging out for an hour on Friday with the person, or how do you want to proceed? You have to ask yourself that, and then you have to talk about it with your partner, and then you could go from there. Now, if you still have a problem after that, when you said there is no problem, then your partner should talk to you about that, because you said you're okay with it. Come to find out you're not. So what's going on here? If things proceed that way. So it all depends. But yes, it's possible. Is it likely? That's a different question. Do most not mind? Most mind. But yes, it's possible, but that's a question of between you and first you and yourself, then you and your partner, if it's gonna happen. So this is just a thought on how to proceed. A reminder, yes, it's possible, but how to proceed from there if it's a question. And that's between each individual and between each couple for their own relationship. So that's that. And I hope this was helpful. I hope you were able to follow my examples when I was telling them, and I hope this is helpful. Have a good day.